Have you ever experienced the paradox where you started to doubt the tradition you were forced to follow? A cruel realization that the tradition was built only for your sacrifice. It doesn't grant you anything, but makes your loved ones disappear one by one. Well, that's how Jujutsu sorcerers in JJK are treated. JJK presents this paradox in a very subtle way. I'm pretty sure not everyone in the community notices the paradox because of how the show is too packed with fights. And fights are arguably the main reason why people even watch this anime and go cranky when they get none. Fights like Gojo serving that Black Friday service, Sukunu and Mahoraga going bomb for bomb, bang for bang in Shibuya, Yuta and Yu let's LARP moment. However, when you try to dive deep into serious moments like Higuruma's backstory, Mai's last goodbye to Maki, you will notice something twisted. And the most twisted paradox of them all is Suguru Geto's way of thinking and how messed up being a Jujutsu sorcerer in a world full of normal human is. Now, to understand the subject I'm about to discuss, we need to take a look at the fundamentals of Jujutsu Kaisen. And no, I'm not talking about the power system. Emotions are extremely important in a human's life. However, in this world, they are the source of cursed spirits. To be exact, negative emotions like sadness, anger, and fear create cursed energy within the human body, and humans are divided into two types: sorcerers and normal humans. Sorcerers are the one who can manipulate cursed energy, unlike normal humans who are completely unable to control their own energy at all, and that's why their energy leaks out and creates cursed spirits. These two types of humans are also known as the strong and the weak. Ever since the dawn of time, society has taught us that the strong must protect the weak, and because of that, it became a tradition and a common expectation among humans. This is also applicable in real life. The strong, such as police, firefighters, and soldiers, even in superhero movies or comics like Marvel, they always promote the idea of strong protecting the weak. With great power comes great responsibility. However, the Marvel world and the JJK world are distinct from each other. On one hand, you get rewarded with gratitude and admiration, such as praise for saving people, and kids start imitating you because of how cool you are. But on the other hand, it is twisted. You don't get praised for saving people, and the very people you are dying to protect, they're the ones creating the problem in the first place. Every negative emotion, every moment of fear or hatred from an ordinary human generates more cursed spirits, which means more enemy for sorcerer to fight, more death. And what about the ordinary human? They don't even know what's happening. And well, the thing is, yet nobody dares to stand against it, question it, or challenge the idea that it is their duty to clean up the weak's mess, except Suguru Geto. Initially, Suguru Geto was a much kinder and more proper young man back then, especially compared to Gojo. He understood the importance of manners and carrying himself with dignity as a sorcerer. However, unlike his friend Gojo, he had too far root of an attitude in his opinion. But despite disagreeing from time to time, Suguru and Satoru were still best friends. They encouraged each other to be the strongest and were confident that they could accomplish anything as long as they had each other. As of then, Suguru Geto was still a sorcerer who genuinely believed in protecting non-sorcerers. That was his truth. One day, Geto and Gojo are assigned to an escort mission. In this mission, Riko is the girl who happens to be the center of it, and there are two groups who want to kill her, which are the Cursed User Group Q and the Star Religious Group. During this mission, Geto and Gojo had no difficulties in fighting the groups, so all they actually did was bonding with Riko and having fun doing different activities, such as enjoying the scenery while rowing the boat, walking down the stairs in the middle of a flower field, or fighting over tasty food and glaring at sea creatures in the aquarium. These moments were intended for Riko before merging with Tengen. And at her last moment, Geto offered her to run away, but just right when she was about to accept, she was shot in the head by Toji. A moment that shocked Geto and hit him hard, but it hadn't necessarily shaken his beliefs just yet. Not until walking into a room and seeing the applause of the Star religious group. He stood there and watched non-sorcerers applauding a teenager's death like it was entertainment, because it actually is. They are the ones who wanted Rico dead. Gojo suggested killing them all, but Geto then said it's pointless. While looking distressed, Gojo didn't understand why he still wanted to uphold the tradition, yet doubted it at the same time. Gojo replied, does there really need to be a point to it? Meaning, does not killing non-sorcerers really matter anymore? After a year, Geto was definitely seen as exhausted and confused about his beliefs. The little voice in his head kept asking questions about the duty of a sorcerer endlessly. Quote, being a sorcerer is a job, is what Nanami said in season 1. It is in fact true considering the things or the events that Geto had heard or seen. Because first of all, the people that he's protecting know nothing about curses and keep reading more curses. Secondly, the higher ups of Jujutsu sorcerers are a bunch of jerks who don't care about the sorcerer's benefits at all and let them die without remorse. So throughout Geto's time at Jujutsu High, these problems haven't been alleviated at all, but instead accelerate Geto's mental deterioration faster, such as the Rico case, in which Yuki then revealed that Rico was disposable since there are many other star plasma vessels. Hearing that, Geto was stunned for a bit because there was no need for a normal teenage girl to die. But the case following the conversation with Yuki answered one of his questions and confirmed his new belief. The confusion was, if being a Jujutsu sorcerer is like running a marathon, then the finish line is too unclear. I don't know how I really feel. This unclear statement shows that he still wonders what the point of being a sorcerer is, and Haibara's death answered that question. Haibara is a friend of Nanami who died losing to a Grade 1 curse on a Grade 2 mission. It was a mistake made by the higher up. He was an optimistic and cheerful young man who described himself as straightforward and not given to overthinking. He also considered himself a good judge of character while sitting next to a mentally disrupted person. But before dying, Geto asked Haibara, are you okay with being a Jujutsu sorcerer? Doesn't it bother you? Haibara then replied, good question. I'm not really the type to think too hard about things. Giving my all towards something I know I can help with is a great feeling. Hearing that, he was injected with some hope of being a sorcerer. However, when Haibara died, all of that hope vanished and he left Geto with a lesson. If being a Jujutsu sorcerer is like running a marathon, what if all that's at the end of that road is a mountain of our fellow sorcerers' corpses? This lesson was going to be the last lesson he received at Jujutsu High, because he now finally realized how crappy and insufferable it is to listen to the higher up and protect non-sorcerers. Geto has now adopted a new moral framework centered on protecting the strong at any cost. Because why should sorcerers protect non-sorcerers just to get exploited by them? Sarame. To begin the first act of overthrowing society's tradition, he goes to the village to check on the curses that had been causing troubles and defeated them. Yet the ignorant villagers are still not convinced and put the blame on the two sorcerer girls. Geto then pinches his brow like he's trying to hold back a headache, trying to explain to the old folks that the evil had already been defeated and that they no longer need to cage and abuse these girls in front of him anymore.
術師を見下す君、それを否定する君。どちらを本音にするのかは
And while the dialogue can sway you one way or the other, you can see how it bothers Geto. And as the villagers grow angrier and ramble about the girls, curses start to sprout out of their fingers. At this point, you can finally see that he is so fed up, and as he makes his fateful decision, the only visual indicator is that the smaller of a pair of candles burns out before he destroys the village. Gojo was so shocked upon hearing the news because the one who controls his selfish ass is Suguru Geto. He is the one who always tells Gojo not to do anything pointless and always fulfill the duty, especially in the applause scene. If Geto hadn't stopped Gojo from killing the believers, he would have become Geto 2.0 right now. Gojo and Geto are no better than each other. They're both the same sides on the same coin. But the one difference that distinguishes these two characters is the hatred for the weak. One doesn't hate the weak and the other hates the weak. And so, at the last moments meeting with each other, Gojo is very mad at Geto for not keeping his word, but he doesn't necessarily disagree with Geto's idea of killing all known sorcerers. It's just because he only sees that goal is impossible. Not that Geto is immoral or wrong for having a goal like that. He just doesn't see Geto succeeding it. Geto then asked Gojo ironic questions that slowly forced Gojo to think about it. Quote, "You could do it, Satoru. You're trying to convince me that it's impossible when you yourself could do it. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? Or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? If I could be you, wouldn't my impossible ideal become possible? This is the life I have chosen. All I can do now is give it all I've got." Such an irony that if you imagine a world where there are no constraints on the strong, then there would be no place for the weak. So if Geto hadn't stopped Gojo back then, who knows how many people would have died in Gojo's hand. However, the interesting fact is that Geto's evil comes from the place of love. His love for his fellow Jujutsu sorcerers. And so, Geto's love for the strong becomes inextricably linked to his contempt for the weak. Geto killed 112 people to save and adopt 2 little sorcerer girls. That just shows that Geto loves his people very much, and he just cannot see his people suffering in front of his eyes. But look, after watching this video, I really hope you guys understand how insufferable it is to be the strong in a world full of the weak.